Every spring, millions of gardeners pull weeds and throw them in the trash. Those same weeds, when processed correctly, outperform commercial fertilizers in university trials. The secret isn't new. Romans documented it 2,000 years ago. Medieval monks refined it into an exact science. Chinese dynasties built agricultural empires on it. Then the chemical fertilizer industry buried the knowledge. Tonight, we're digging it back up. Tonight, your weeds become liquid gold. Welcome to GrowWise Vision, where we combine ancient agricultural wisdom with modern science to help you grow more food with less effort and zero corporate dependency. If you've been throwing away the most powerful fertilizer in your garden, this video will change everything. Before we dive in, if you're serious about breaking free from expensive fertilizers while building better soil, hit that subscribe button. We create in-depth, science-backed guides that actually work. Here's what most gardeners completely miss. Weeds aren't problems. They're nitrogen factories. Every weed in your garden is actively pulling nitrogen from the air through bacterial partnerships in the soil. They're mining minerals from deep underground with tap roots that penetrate far deeper than your crops can reach. They're concentrating these nutrients in their leaves at levels that would cost you a fortune to buy in bags. And then you pull them and throw all of that accumulated wealth into the garbage. The waste is staggering. But the solution is beautifully simple. The story begins in ancient Rome. Archaeological excavations of villa gardens reveal something fascinating. Dedicated weed processing stations. Not compost piles. Processing stations. Stone vessels with built-in drainage systems. Collection jars arranged below. Specific cutting tools. The setup was too deliberate to be casual. These weren't composting weeds. They were extracting nutrients in liquid form, fast. The method spread across the empire because it worked better than anything else. From Britain to North Africa, wherever Rome conquered, this system followed. The principle behind it is elegant. Green plant tissue contains massive amounts of nitrogen, minerals, and growth compounds. When you submerge fresh plant material in water, something remarkable happens. Cell walls begin rupturing immediately. Nutrients dissolve into the water. Bacteria naturally present on the plant surfaces accelerate the breakdown. Within days, you have concentrated liquid fertilizer. The Romans didn't understand cellular biology, but they understood results. Plants fed with this extract grew faster, fruited heavier, and resisted disease better than plants fed with anything else. Modern science finally explains why this works so well. Plant cells contain nutrients in both dissolved and bound forms. When you compost weeds normally, it takes months for those nutrients to become available. The slow breakdown means slow release, but when you ferment plant material in water under specific conditions, bacterial enzymes break down cell walls rapidly. The nutrients that were locked inside suddenly flood into solution. You're essentially fast-forwarding the composting process. What takes 6 months in a compost pile happens in 1 week in water. But there's more. The fermentation process produces organic acids and beneficial bacteria that plants recognize and respond to immediately. This isn't synthetic nitrogen that shocks plants. This is the exact form of nutrition that plants evolved to use for 400 million years. Their biology is wired to expect it. Let's talk about the fermentation process. This is where ancient wisdom and modern science align perfectly. Take any fresh green weeds. Before they flower is critical. That's when nutrient density peaks. After flowering, the plant redirects everything to seed production. You lose half the fertilizer value. Timing matters. The Romans tracked this by plant appearance and moon phases. We track it by growth stage. Both methods work. Same harvest window, chop your weeds roughly. You're just breaking up cell structure to help things along. Pack them into any container. Could be a bucket, could be a barrel. The Romans used ceramic vessels. Cover completely with water. The ratio isn't precise. Roughly equal volumes works. Rainwater is best. Well, water is fine. Even tap water works if you let it sit overnight so chlorine dissipates. Here's the key step that cuts fermentation time in half. Add a handful of rich soil from your best garden bed or aged compost. or leaf mold from under trees. The Romans did this without understanding why. Modern microbiology reveals the mechanism. You're introducing billions of beneficial bacteria that produce enzymes to accelerate plant breakdown. These bacteria thrive in the oxygen-poor environment created by submerged plant material. They rapidly break down complex plant compounds into simpler forms. The process that normally takes 2 weeks completes in 7 days. Pure biological acceleration. No chemicals needed, just bacteria doing what they've evolved to do. The mixture ferments over the next week. You'll notice changes. The water darkens, turns from clear to green to brown. The smell develops, not rot. Fermentation. There's a difference. That strong odor is carbon dioxide and organic acids releasing as bacteria work. It's the sign everything is progressing correctly. The Romans placed these vessels in sun because heat accelerates bacterial activity. In warm summer weather, you're done in 5 to 7 days. Spring and fall take 10 to 14. You know it's ready when the plant material falls apart easily. Turns to sludge when you stir it, the liquid becomes opaque. Deep brown or black depending on what plants you used. Strain off the liquid. That solid residue can go straight to your compost pile. It's already half decomposed. Will break down in weeks instead of months, but the liquid is what we're after. This is concentrated plant extract, what the Romans called liquid strength. University studies comparing this to commercial liquid fertilizers find nitrogen levels that match or exceed them. Potassium often tests higher, plus trace minerals, beneficial bacteria, and natural growth hormones that synthetics completely lack. The complete nutrient package. Dilution is important. The Romans used ratios that modern testing proves optimal. 1 part extract to 10 parts water for established plants. 1 to 20 for seedlings or young transplants. Too strong burns roots. Properly diluted, plants respond within 48 hours. Leaves darken. Growth accelerates. Flowering increases. The response is dramatic because this is what plant biology expects. Not synthetic shock. Natural nutrition. But here's where it gets really interesting. Different weeds accumulate different nutrients. The Romans figured this out through observation. Medieval monks documented it precisely in agricultural manuscripts that survive in European libraries. Modern researchers testing those medieval recipes find they work exactly as written. High nitrogen extracts came from plants like nettles and fresh grass clippings, applied to leafy vegetables and young plants. High potassium extracts came from deeper-rooted weeds like dock and plantain, applied to fruiting crops, tomatoes, peppers, anything producing fruit. They match the extract to the crop's need. Just like modern farmers match NPK ratios, except the ancient method cost nothing and built soil health instead of destroying it. This knowledge spread globally. Chinese agricultural texts describe identical fermentation processes. Different plants. Same principle. Islamic agricultural science refined it further. Persian gardens adopted these methods. By the Middle Ages, plant extract fertilizers were standard practice everywhere. Every competent farmer knew this. Then came the 20th century. Chemical companies promised easier solutions. Just open a bag, pour it on. Instant results. The old methods were dismissed as primitive and inefficient. Agricultural schools stopped teaching fermentation techniques. Within 50 years, the knowledge nearly vanished, but small farmers in regions too poor for chemicals kept the tradition alive. Indigenous communities maintained the practice. Home gardeners passed it down. The method never actually died, just went underground. Now science circles back. Recent university studies comparing fermented plant extracts to synthetic fertilizers reveal something the chemical industry doesn't want discussed. Plant extracts don't just feed plants, they improve soil structure, increase beneficial microbe populations, enhance natural disease resistance, improve flavor and nutrition in harvested food. Synthetic fertilizers do one thing: deliver NPK. That's it, sometimes faster. But the long-term effects on soil health and plant vitality consistently favor fermented extracts. This is why organic operations are returning to these methods. Not because they're traditional, because they work better. You don't need rare ingredients. The weeds in your garden right now contain everything necessary. That bucket in your shed works perfectly. The process takes 1 week in summer, 2 weeks in cooler weather. The result outperforms products you'd pay $50 to buy, and you can make it continuously. As you use it, start a new batch. Always have extract ready. This is what Romans knew, what medieval science proved, what modern research validates. The fertilizer you need is the one you're throwing away. If this changed how you see weeds, hit that like button. Subscribe to GrowWise vision for ancient agricultural wisdom that modern science keeps validating. The materials are already in your yard. Until then, remember what every ancient farmer understood. The best fertilizer doesn't come from a corporation. It comes from what your garden naturally provides. Stop fighting your weeds. Start harvesting them.